Well, hello everyone. It is Karen Ann Harlos, the Pink Parliamentarian, with I try to do bi-weekly, but we don't. Tips, quick and dirty tips on Robert's Rules of Order. I am a registered parliamentarian with the National Association of Parliamentarians and am available for hire by your organization. You can find out more by writing me at pinkparliamentarian@gmail.com or visiting my site at pinkparliamentarian.com. Would really look forward to working with your organization. My philosophy is people first, so if that seems like a good fit, get in touch. We are continuing today on the topic we started last episode of division of the assembly. We're dealing with the discussion in Robert's Rules of Order, RONR 450, and the following sections. And it's going to deal with division of the assembly that's initiated by a member of the assembly and division of the assembly that's initiated by the chair. So sometimes a voice vote is inconclusive, as can be a show of hands, and this could be for multiple reasons, particularly in larger meetings. Some members may discourteously scream their vote. In the group that I'm very involved in, the number of male members is generally more than the majority, with men also having generally more booming voices so that the female voices can get drowned out, which can be exasperated if in their exuberance some of the men yell. And even if the volume seems even, but the vote is just too close, or it seems like a significant number of members have failed to vote rather than purposely abstaining. So that can cause an inconclusive vote. So in such an uncertainty, the chair can say something like, the ayes or noes seem to have it, and then pause to give time for any member who wishes to demand verification of the vote through division of the assembly. Then if no such demand is received, the chair then announces the vote as final. Now, a special note is needed on show of hands. In a larger assembly, it can be somewhat gamed. At least I've seen it. If other parliamentarians or members of societies haven't seen this, maybe it's unique to the group I'm involved with. But in a large room, there are people who sometimes raise both of their hands, effectively doubling their vote if it's not caught. And a retaking of a voice vote by a show of hands should not be done in a larger assembly, but it can be done in a smaller one. But that strictly is not division. So like if there's a voice vote and then the chair asks for show of hands, that's not technically a division. A division is when a voice vote or a show of hands is then redone by a rising vote. A counted vote also is not a division, and I used to have that confused. It's a separate motion that cannot be demanded by a single member, and that's another mistaken belief. So a single member can demand division, and that is converting voice vote, show of hands to a standing vote. If that member still thinks the standing vote is inconclusive, in order to have it counted, and it's not something that the chair orders because the chair is undecided, that will require a motion, and it will be under, motions for methods of voting. So it can be done in doubtful cases, though, upon the initiative of the chair, or again ordered by a majority vote of the assembly. And here's something interesting. So at the point of the standing vote, where a majority of the assembly wants the vote to be counted, they can move for that. But they can also move that instead the vote be retaken by a ballot vote. Why might they want to do that? Now, this would not be the case in my particular organization, which the secret ballot is not quite so sacred. They Transparency is much more sacred. But in typical societies, the secrecy of the vote is considered sacred on a ballot. And if this is a controversial question where people do not want to be seen what side they are taking, and the chair or the assembly sees that a really unrepresentative number of people did not vote at all, retaking by secret ballot vote may make those people more comfortable to actually vote. Now, if a counted vote is done on the chair's initiative, it can be done immediately after the yes votes are asked to stand, because the chair can take a look at that and be like, this is going to be close. And the chair can then just say, please stay standing. We are going to take a counted vote. The chair can also order a counted vote after both sides have stood as well. But when ordered by members, even for a voice vote, like a voice vote, raising hands, where it is clear, division should never be tolerated as a dilatory tactic. And this happens a lot, particularly in contentious conventions when a particular side of an issue is trying to stall. Maybe there's something coming up on the agenda they want to run out the clock on. So that's something to be noted. But here is something really interesting I learned on the Roberts Rules Forum. And you can find it in RONR 36. And it says, the regular methods of initially taking a vote are by voice, viva voce, living la viva voce, or rising, division, or by show of hands, the latter two of which may be called for by any member as a means of verifying that when an inconclusive vote has just been taken. And the chair may order that a vote be counted or that an uncounted vote be retaken as a counted vote. After a question has been voted on in any of these ways, and within the time specified in standard descriptive characteristic number 1, which I'll summarize is basically from the moment the chair has reported the vote until the announcement of the result is complete, or immediately thereafter. And RONR 45.9, and also, interestingly, the American Institute of Parliamentarian Standard Code makes it clear that it's still in order, even if another person has the floor, but the right must be exercised promptly before that speaker has begun to speak. So in that case, the assembly can still order that the vote be taken again by some other method other than the regular ones, or that an uncounted vote be taken as a counted vote. But note this. This is the interesting part. All of that is what we had just covered. After a vote has been taken by one of these other methods, or after the assembly has ordered that a counted vote be taken, it is not in order to move that the vote be taken again. It is never in order to move that a vote on a question be taken a second time by the same method. But there's, at least it was noted on the forum, and I agree, there's a loophole here. You might note that, say somebody called for division in the assembly, a member called for division, you got the standard vote. Then they moved to count the vote. After that's done, it's done. They can't move to have the vote then retaken, say, by a ballot. But here's a loophole. It says once the assembly has ordered, a counted vote, they can't order it be retaken a different way again. But the loophole is, what if the chair, after you have division, there's a rising vote, and the chair looks and is like, yeah, this is too close. We're going to count it. Even though the chair had ordered it counted, the assembly didn't. After that counted vote, the assembly can still move to retake it by a ballot. That is like a weird little loophole, because it's a difference between a counted vote ordered by the chair or by the assembly. Hopefully that made some kind of sense, but I found that super, super interesting. So what do you think? Let me know if you have any questions. This is one of those things that can get a little bit confusing, but just note, let's boil it down again. If you have a voice vote or even a show of hands, the assembly, by demand of a single member, unless you have some special rules of order that say otherwise, can call out and interrupt division, which point a rise-in vote is taken. It isn't automatically counted. That is division, the rising vote. If the assembly is still unclear, or the chair is, the chair can unilaterally order that vote to be counted, and the assembly can order the vote to be counted or can order it as a ballot vote. If the chair orders it to be counted, the assembly can still move to have it retaken as a ballot vote. But if the assembly orders it either counted or ballot, it's done. You're moving on in business. So thank you very much for joining me. And again, if you have any questions, put them below or shoot me a line at pinkparliamentarian@gmail.com. Have an awesome day, and there is a bonus episode to this. We're going to talk a little bit about what it says in Canon's Rules of Order. Bye-bye.